Welcome back to the Slanted Attic Experience. I'm your host, Tyler, and this is episode 59. The Sports Room is back for its 7th installment, and Liam and Graham are in the building. We're diving into the second half of the NFL season, looking ahead to the AFC Championship and Super Bowl picture, and getting into refereeing consistency, sports betting, and the NFL offseason. The Eagles take center stage with two big questions. Should Philadelphia be in full dynasty mode, and should they trade A.J. Brown? Then we shift to college football, break down the NCAA championship, get into Indiana's incredible turnaround, the Dante Moore drama, and the transfer portal conversation that every fan is paying attention to right now. Graham brings the EPL into the room with full table talk and season drama, and we close things out with a brand new segment called Crazy Sports Facts that you're going to want to stick around for. Liam and Graham are locked in, and this one moves fast. Let's get into it.
You know, some of the notorious schools that we're all not surprised are involved in this or tampering.
Of course. I mean, would it be college football without that happening? I mean,
It's like, there's people tampering in college sports? Who would that be? Oh, Miami. Oh, yeah, makes sense.
Oh, really?
Ole Miss. Oh, makes sense.
Trinidad Chambliss, next Pittsburgh Steelers QB. Winidad.
He's got a great name.
I don't know. Anyway, all right, fellas, welcome back. This is the 7th Sports Room, unofficially. I'm sure we've recorded more than this between the three of us, of course. But yeah, AFC, NFC Championship are happening today. We'll get to watch those later today. I do like the way the NFL's has set up the playoff schedule this year, 3 and 6 o'clock. I get to go to bed at a regular time, so we like that. But yeah, interesting field this year. We've got the Broncos taking on the Patriots, and then Seahawks Rams, which is going to be hopefully an all-time classic. But yeah, last time I chatted with you guys, I think we were in week 9 of the NFL 2025-26 season, and things have changed a lot since then. Notably, a lot of coaching switches, swaps, firings, stepping downs. We've got some players moving around, some injuries, some interesting action towards the latter half of the NFL season here. Sorry, Graham, but upside of a year for the Carolina Panthers. Pittsburgh Steelers are in shambles. The Eagles, I don't know what to say about that situation. We'll let Liam get into that in a few minutes here. But we'll start off with some kind of general statements about the back half of the year. What did you guys see that kind of surprised you? What did you see that disappointed you? Anything goes, like a lot of different storylines here at the end of the year.
For sure. I think the past couple of seasons, there's been a lot of really good teams, and then like 3 to 4 top teams that everyone knows like really has a shot at the Super Bowl. Like last year was pretty clearly. I feel like Eagles, Rams, Commanders, people had a thought, but they were young at QB, so it was tough for them. And then like Bills and the Chiefs have always been there on the other side, and I guess the Ravens, even though they can't get over the hump either, but. Like, and those were kind of the core teams that were good. And I feel like this year it just, like, opened up. It didn't really feel like one team, in my opinion, was, like, the best team in the league all season. Even, like, New England and Denver being top teams, I think everyone knows they're really, really good. But then when you watch them, they're all, like, clearly flawed. Like, same with the Eagles, same with the Rams. So I think there's not, like, a dominant team this year. Like, I don't really think this season will be remembered for, like, having one great, amazing team or anything like that. I think the league was a little more balanced. I mean, we'll see what happens today. It's a shame Bo Nix is hurt, but
I would say that I don't think there's a team out there that is like at the level of some of the past Chiefs teams we've seen, the Patriots teams, the Seahawks teams.
yeah.
About 10, 15 years ago.
Niners teams that even
but
did.
I would say that, I mean, to me, the best team left is the Seahawks. It's really, this would be a shining moment for Sam Darnold if he could come into Seattle first year in and win the Super Bowl. And he has a very good opportunity to do so. And I think it'll completely change. It'll be Sam Darnold was a bust 3 years ago, not even 3 years ago. He was considered a bust to now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, at least one of the most trusting quarterbacks in the league, because now he's led two different teams to the playoffs. This year, they're in the NFC Championship at home. It's a tough game against the Rams
And
but
probably the MVP.
and probably the MVP Matthew Stafford, but I don't think Matthew Stafford and the Rams have been playing their best ball, whereas I think the Seahawks are right in stride, playing their best football this season. And as you get down the stretch, it's not the team that had the best season, it's the team with the most momentum that's got the hot quarterback that's playing the best ball. And that's why I think, you know, if Sam Darnold and the Seahawks they get through the Rams, I think whoever they play in the Super Bowl is going to be not as competitive of a game as that Rams game. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think Sam Darnold too is an interesting case because I think he got better throughout his career. Left the Jets, had a little bit of hope, and then even in Minnesota, it's like, can he get over the hump of the big game? And you don't really trust him. And I feel like he's kind of beating that now. And even like way back to college, everyone said he should have left, and he went back another year, and then his draft stock fell. So you could even look back all the way to college. He's had quite the up and down NFL career, but I do think it is amazing what leaving the Jets can do for you and getting just some like solid overall coaching.
Yeah.
I agree.
Obviously, they
Sorry,
have a really good
fan.
running.
Yeah. Well,
So
not just leaving the Jets. I think what helps a young quarterback and a quarterback that is developing, you have to have a go-to receiver. Like that's if you don't have a go-to receiver that you can trust or a tight end that you can trust, like it makes it very difficult for you to kind of hit the ground running and have success in the NFL. Sam Darnold didn't have that at New York. He goes to Minnesota last year, has Justin Jefferson. This year, JSN. You see the same thing with Baker. Like, I mean, he had some weapons in Cleveland, but he also was able to have some weapons in Tampa that helped him. So it's just as important to have weapons around you and help around you as anything else.
Looking up stats this year because I just want to challenge you guys a little bit because I didn't think Sam Darnold had that impressive of a year. I think what held up that Seattle team as a whole was their defense and their ability to kind of,
Well,
change the,
there,
what's the word I'm looking for? Momentum of the game. Let's see.
overall was a little bit of a defensive leaning league this year.
Well, I mean, Sam Darnold was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in passing yards. I mean, let's see. Touchdowns, he's a little bit further down the list. 25 touchdowns to 14 interceptions, 99 QBR. So definitely not leading in that regard.
I mean,
but
he's not.
I don't
The
think he's making
best
that many
quarterback.
mistakes. He's not causing them to lose the game, which
Exactly.
is huge when you're making a playoff run that deep. Like a CJ Stroud is never going to make it to the big game. I mean, homie had what, 5 or 6 turnovers in 2 games. Like, that's just not going to cut it.
And I hate to say it, Josh Allen.
Josh Allen had 5 turnovers as well.
I love Josh Allen, but he makes too many mistakes when it matters most. And you would think at this point in his career that fumble that he gave up on the drive before halftime when when Denver was able to kick a field goal, and that made the difference in the game because Broncos won by a field goal. It's things like that where it's like, come on, dude, you're experienced enough to know not to do that.
He did it in
And
the Eagles this year too when we beat him. He was running around. He did the little pump fake, and then it was a fumble. And instead of chasing after it, he's complaining to the ref that it's a forward pass. Like, but he's obviously super talented. But he just needs to.
Well, I think he's trying to play. He's trying to play hero ball too much. Is I think what it is, and you know that it kind of reminds me of like Matthew Stafford at the beginning of his career, or a guy that's just like Andrew Luck, who just tries to do everything to win, but sometimes does a little bit too much. So
yeah. Well, did you think that was a catch or an interception in that overtime? That obviously was a big factor in the outcome.
I've seen photos where it's like his knee is down, but the way it's always taught is it's not when your knee goes down. You can have your knee down, but if you don't follow through with the catch, it's not a catch. And I think you didn't see the receiver after the game, Brandon Cooks, when they were interviewing him. He was distraught, which means he knew he didn't make the full catch. Like that, like he, of course, his teammates, the coaches are going to back him and say, well, we thought it was a catch, like it was a catch. As a receiver, if you don't come up with the ball after you hit the ground, it's not a catch. Well, it is a catch. It was an interception, but it wasn't. A full catch.
Usually is like tied to the receiver though, and
it's tied to the receiver if they both have the ball.
And he ripped it out, but
yeah,
right. I don't know, man. It was tough for me because I feel like a bunch of other plays that were very similar were called in a different fashion, and I just want to see consistency throughout the refereeing, which I think was a big question mark this season, especially. Obviously, we have more film, there's more shows, there's more people analyzing it on independent podcasts or YouTube videos, and we can see a lot of the stuff that's happening. That's why, this season, the last few seasons with Matt Canada, so to speak, I'm getting people in my Instagram feed that are analyzing Pittsburgh offensive plays. They get the overhead cam shot and they're showing me all the routes that the receivers are running, the bad blocking schemes we have, the stupid stuff that allows the defense to read us like a book. And I don't know, the more we get to analyze it, the more we can see the inconsistencies in the refereeing. And with, personally watching that, I saw a lot of stuff this season that looked very similar that they called in the reverse fashion. So I'm just not sure. I do think it was an interception per the rules. Honestly, I think that's the right call. But there have been a lot of questionable calls up to this point that were similar enough for me to not support it fully. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I will say those pass interference calls later,
I was going to say,
were
worse.
Definitely questionable.
They were worse.
The first one wasn't going to matter because they got roughing the passer, but even the roughing the passer was a little bit questionable too. I mean, I think like you said, Tyler, I don't really care what you call, just make the calls consistent. Like everybody has to be on the same page. If you switch it up from game to game or from time in the game, like have different calls at different moments in the game, it makes it tough for the players because the players don't know what to expect. Like, okay, we've been handsy all game, and then now the last minute of the game, now you're going to call this, but you weren't calling this the entire game. Like, just consistent.
Right. I think you even saw that in the national championship. They were taking cheap shots at Mendoza all night. And then the one guy hit Beck or whatever, and they call roughing the passer or unsportsmanlike, and it's just like inconsistent. I think even across games, like in the Eagles-Niners game, for example, I didn't think they were PI, but they were like very physical and handsy with AJ Brown, and you don't call it. And then in the Broncos-Bills game, you gift them basically 50 yards in the winner on penalties. I would be curious if officiating is actually getting worse, or like our technology is just getting better, and they've always been that bad. But now, like with our tech, we can actually go back and see how terrible they are all the time. I also feel like there's like more rules to enforce than there used to be, and they're wanted to be offensive and wanted to be all these things. So then I feel like you have refs looking to call certain things instead of watching the game and like calling what they should, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah, that you bring up a great point, and something that I can kind of like compare is the MLB scorecards. I know we've talked about them before on here, and like those guys are so good to like pinpoint accuracy. Like they're within 5% all the time, of hundreds and hundreds of pitches per game. And you've got to think that these guys are getting better over time. Refereeing is a competition, to get into that career path. I know that it's a tough thing to kind of advance through the ranks. Now I don't, I definitely have my qualms with referees. I don't think they're doing the best job, like I alluded to earlier, but it's got to be a difficult job, and you got to think that they're getting better at it over time as the game evolves, as rules evolve. They're seeing this happen at a quicker pace. Athletes are faster, bigger, stronger, and they're still making a lot of the right calls in most circumstances. But kind of what Graham said is my biggest issue. You wait until it's the biggest moment, the most controversial moment, or like a tipping point, the climax of the game to make a call like that. That's kind of bullshit. I hate that.
Well, it's okay if you were calling that earlier in the
Right.
game and you made it clear, like, hey, we're
Mhm.
going to call this.
Yes.
You got to make sure you're not doing this. But if you're not calling it, then you have to keep it consistent. And because then it's okay, well, you're being biased towards this team or you're being biased towards that team. And that's what people end up thinking because of that, where, you know, I don't remember how the calls were throughout most of the game up to, you know, overtime, but it seemed like all the calls in overtime went in Denver's favor. Not saying that that's, refs were involved in that or anything. That's just kind of how the cards went, but it does, make a lot of people skeptical and asking questions about that. But I don't know. Overall, I think the refs are doing a better job than, and I think the most important thing that a ref does, like their most important job, is just to keep the game moving. And so I think, as long as you can keep the game moving, keep it consistent, not have, too many flags, keep the game kind of clean. Because you want that in the playoffs. You don't want 15 penalties in a playoff game because it slows the game down, makes it less entertaining, more commercials, more people likely to tune out. So if you have a game that's less penalties, that's moving quickly, it's more entertaining to watch as well.
Yeah. Keeps it more honest too. I think it's a more natural football game. Something I did want to bring up, of course, is the emphasis on sports betting and the
Yes.
books. And does that have something to do with it? I mean, every single game is so close to that spread, that line. Even the national championship game with a few of the things that happened over the course of the game made it so it was right there. I think Indiana was favored by 7 or something like that, and they won by 6. A lot of bettors on Miami would have won some money with that. You hate to think about it, but is it a possibility that, I mean, we see these gambling rings being shut down. I mean, I don't know if it was us who had talked about it last time. There was something that was happening in the NBA. There was something that came out more recently. I don't know if it was WNBA or another sports league. Does that have an impact?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Got
this
Foster.
is only going to get worse and worse as time goes on. Because you have an open betting market, not just on the betting apps, but now you have like prediction markets
Yeah,
that
the
are opening
RPG or
up.
whatever we can bet on.
Kalshi,
Yeah,
where you can literally bet on anything, you know, and it's going to become a point in time where players are going to get involved in this. Um, and it's not just going to be one or two, it's going to be a lot of them. And, you know, over time, it'll be interesting to see how the sports leagues deal with this because it is a little bit ironic that, you know, they're the ones that are going to have to enforcing this when their biggest sponsors are these betting companies. It was funny. I was watching. It was like ESPN was talking about like the NBA betting scandals, and on the like ticker thing that goes down at the bottom, they had like ESPN bet sign up today.
and I
And
don't
then
know
they
if you
had to
saw.
remove it because one
Yeah,
of the
yeah, it
producers
was after
called it.
like
That
10
was
seconds.
yeah,
You could see they took it off the screen and then they quickly replaced it with something else. I
yeah.
saw that. That was hilarious.
And I think that's the biggest issue is that they're partners with the betting companies because there's no way you can't just have communication being like, oh, this spread is, it's getting close to hitting the over. We need to keep it the under because we're going to lose all this money if the over hits. And like, I don't know what the spread was last night in the Sixers Knicks game, but like, Sixers were down 3 with 12 seconds left and then 5 seconds left. And the Knicks both times tried to intentionally foul so the Sixers couldn't tie and shoot free throws. And they just didn't call it. And I'm not saying that's like rigged, but that's just like a perfect example. And then they have like the 2-minute pool report and ask the refs their questions about the calls, and they're just like, we didn't see any illegal contact on the play. Like they can just say whatever they want, and that could have easily been, the league calling in and saying, oh, this is getting too close to this spread, or if they call this foul, these many people bet on the Sixers to take 20 free throws, and we can't lose 5 million tonight on that bet. Like that has to be happening or going to happen.
Do you think? Because I've always thought this, right? Like refs wear earpieces. They're communicating with not only themselves on the field, but upstairs as well. And upstairs is the league office. So they have direct connection with the somebody from the league office. So if they tell them, and there's been players that have come out and said like, I think it was Evan Turner. The Sixers were playing, I think it was the Heat with LeBron or something like that, and it was a game 7, and Elton Brand basically told Evan Turner and was like, if we don't win by 15, we're gonna lose by 30. Essentially meaning like they had to blow they had to like gain a super big lead in order for there to be any competition, um, or for the refs to even consider giving them the game. Because if it was a tight game, they were going to push it in Miami's direction because, well, the ratings, right?
Yeah.
You don't want LeBron going out of the playoffs and all those ratings to go away. So there definitely is some of that involved where, you know, they're going to favor a certain team because that team is going to provide better ratings for the next game.
They NBA goes back and gives Draymond a tech after the game in a 3-1 NBA Finals to maybe keep it going a couple more games, make a couple more $1 million on viewership.
Yeah.
I mean, I even think on a small scale, if you have like a pizza party at your office and your boss bought pizza and you're only allowed to have 2 slices, you're gonna try and find a way to steal a third slice. Like, and that's on, I don't know if it's a terrible example, but that's on like the smallest scale possible. So if there's millions and millions of dollars on the line, you don't think people are going to be trying to dip their toes and influence how that money is changing?
Oh yeah, especially networks live off of ratings. So networks are telling these teams or telling these like the NBA, the NFL, these organizations like we need the best teams. Like um this isn't about like oh who earned it. It's like no, we need ratings. We need the best teams there. And I think in the NFL it's a little less necessary because the Super Bowl is so big and so many people watch regardless. But I think there will be a dip in the Super Bowl ratings this year compared to past years because, you know, it's not Eagles, 49ers, Chiefs, like those teams are already out of it. Um, not disrespect to the teams remaining, but it's not the same level of teams as we've seen in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. Full circle back to the NFL playoffs, full team or full season rankings. Where do we sit? I know there's a lot of controversy with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Let's go through the league, maybe highlight some teams we thought did well this season, maybe did a little bit poorer than expected, and then we can talk about our each respective teams and talk about head coaches and other coaching hires.
Yeah. Well, I kind of wanted to start because I want your thoughts on Mike McCarthy potentially.
Oh God! All right, you want me to start with Mike McCarthy? Okay. So, funnily enough, I got my haircut on Friday, and my barber is from Pittsburgh. Like, grew up playing football there, played football in college, I believe, or maybe it was basketball. Regardless, every time I go, huge homer takes. We talk about it the entire time I'm in the chair. And of course, Mike McCarthy got brought up in conversation, and both of us were like, hell no, like, terrible option. I can see why they're interviewing him, but like, back of the line. Like, he's not somebody who we want coaching our football team. And of course, wake up the next day, headline news: Mike McCarthy is expected to sign with Pittsburgh, 5-year contract, um, all of this stuff. So, of course, being the fan that I am, I'm on Reddit reading everybody's opinion from all over about what's going on. And the general consensus seems to be that our new owner, Art Rooney II, took over head of football operations maybe like 6 years ago, slightly before Kenny Pickett was drafted. Since we've been making kind of weird moves in the draft, I think his father had died, who he inherited the team from, and general mentality is, hey, he's a cheap owner, and Mike McCarthy was willing to take a hometown pay cut. We remain an average team for 5 seasons, then we reevaluate. And everybody on there is flipping shit. We're not happy. We were expecting like kind of a younger hire, somebody new with a new style of football. I mean, Mike McCarthy is going to be very similar to Tomlin football. Like, I wanted something different. I wanted to change. I wanted to switch it up, get somebody with, one of these new style offenses or defenses. We typically shift towards defensive minded coaches, but McCarthy's the opposite. So yeah, don't like it. Don't like the longevity of the contract. If it was like a 2-year contract, I'd be like, all right, at least ownership shows that this isn't an end goal thing. Like, we're gonna move on from this. But like, 5 years shows you that you're putting some faith in this guy. You want him to potentially be the next longer tenured coach. And to me, it's like a fucking Pete Carroll situation. Like, he's gonna have 2 years and suck, and then we're back at square one. But maybe, hopefully, at least we'll be bad, so then we can get a good draft pick. Jeez. But yeah, end rant. That's what I got.
I mean, I remember as an Eagles fan not wanting Dallas to fire him. So I also think this is where Super Bowl winning head coaches just get overrated because he has a Super Bowl. But if he was with Aaron Rodgers for 12 years and won one Super Bowl, that's a failure if you ask me.
Yeah, it's definitely the safe hire. 100%. Like and I kind of get it because that's kind of Pittsburgh. They've never been the team to have the flashy hire, the new offensive guru type. Um, but yeah, it seems like taking a step back. Like if you're gonna hire Mike McCarthy, what was the point of firing Tomlin?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lateral
Because
move.
it's a
Downgrade.
exactly, to me it's a lateral move. And Tomlin's younger. Tomlin has still had relationships with all the players.
Yeah,
Now, I don't know if it had gotten to a point where the front office relationship was unrepairable, and that might have been why things kind of fell apart at the end. And I'm certainly feel the fans' pressure definitely had something to do with it as well. Um, but if you're taking fans' input into this, then you would understand that fans don't want the same thing over again. And, McCarthy will probably lead. I'm sure the team will make the playoffs a couple times when he's there as the coach, or at least that's the expectation. But I don't think the expectation is Super Bowl,
And it
and
should be.
it should
Like,
be.
yeah.
like, especially with our history, like, and McCarthy is the first hire. Well, this is an interesting fact. He is the oldest coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers on his first day of work. He's the oldest coach ever. Like we've only ever hired young guys and developed a franchise through them in
Yeah.
different eras, and
Well,
that's kind of been what's worked for us.
Yeah, this is like your fifth coach since the 40s or 60s or something. That's wild.
It
Yeah.
seems like just such a flop.
This is I think fourth coach since what 1968.
It's crazy.
When
Something
Chuck
wild.
Noll took
My
over.
brother was saying y'all should have hired Harbaugh, and then the Ravens should have hired Tomlin.
That would have been funny.
I wanted either Shula or was it Steelhouse from LA, both LA coaches, one offensive, one defensive. That's who I was kind of leaning towards. Kubiak is another name I've heard thrown around.
Should have taken Sirianni.
Yeah, hell no, I don't know. Oh, Sirianni. I mean,
Pick him up
I'm
back.
surprised. I'm surprised he didn't get the boot. To be honest,
There's this coaching cycle was weird because there's a couple guys that they should already be gone. They should have been gone last year. Like
what's his face from the Bengals,
Zach
bro?
Taylor.
Yeah.
And then there's guys where it's like I don't know why they're doing this. Like Harbaugh, I get it. They've just been kind of inconsistent for too many years now.
With a really good roster.
With a really good roster, and I think Lamar, there's some rift between them that kind of came up, and so I get that, and I get the Tomlin firing. I don't get the Sean McDermott firing.
No, me neither.
Doesn't make sense to me. It
Especially keeping the GM. If you do that, question mark.
Here's the
You fire the whole front office.
Here's the thing. Sean McDermott with the team he's got has done a great job. The problem is the team he's got. So who's really to blame for that? Well, it's the GM. You
For the players.
let Stephon Diggs go, and then you think Keon Coleman's going to be the guy. You put so much pressure on him to be the guy, and then you have the owner talking down on his own player.
Yeah,
Dude, did you guys see the clip of him signing the contract or whatever? People are doing him dirty. Have you guys seen that? It came out.
No.
It circulated this week. It's
No.
basically him sitting at a table, and he's signing like his draft contract, his rookie contract or whatever. And he goes, "So what do I do? Do I got to sign my whole name?" And the guy's like, the like agent or I don't know, whatever guy stand there. He's like, just sign your signature. He's like, yeah, but do I got to do what I do with autographs, or should I just sign my whole name? He's like, whatever your signature it is, you sign legal documents with. And he's like, so my full name. And the guy's like, sure. Like, if that's what that means. And the guy doesn't seem like the sharpest tool in the shed, is all I'm going to say. And that's what it kind of energy it gave off. And then what you were saying, Graham, I saw the clip of what was it, ownership or the GM like talking about Keon Coleman and drafting him and all kinds of stuff. I forget what was said, but poor way to run an organization, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I mean, they're not the Browns or the Jets, though, so could be worse.
Yeah. And look, I get it. Like, I think coming into it, part of why he was seen as, kind of had all this hype around him was because of his personality. Like, you saw the videos of him, he was very outgoing, that type of personality type. And so people were expecting that to kind of translate on the field. And he did have a touchdown in the playoff game, but um, I just think that and he wasn't a first round pick. He wasn't like a guy that should have been expected
Yeah.
to step into that role, in my opinion. I just think he kind of got pushed into it because there was nobody else. And that's on ownership, that's on the GM for not, having other guys to step in other than kind of, veterans that are on their last legs. Like, you're desperate, so you bring in Brandon Cooks and Curtis Samuel and just all these guys that they were good maybe 5 years ago. They were great to have on your roster,
I
but
think Brandon Cooks
now
played stellar, though,
he
honestly,
was
in the
good. He
playoffs
was good, but
for his
I
age.
just
Hang on.
I just think that you need, like, Josh Allen is a top quarterback. You need a go-to guy.
You need
And
a guy.
you need
Any
a guy, any guy. And he had that in Diggs. And, it just, it seems like, and I get it because you want to exercise Josh Allen's talents the most, and he is a exceptional runner, and so you lean on the run game. James Cook I think he led the league in rushing this year. Had a great year, but I mean, they kind of have been letting Josh Allen down, and I think this was the year to take advantage of, all the other teams not playing very well, not living up to standards. And I mean, you can't excuse Josh Allen for some of the mistakes he made, and I think he definitely played a part in them not reaching the next level. But I also think, the organization around him kind of failed him in that regard, and failed McDermott, and I don't think he deserved to be fired.
You think McDermott will get a shot elsewhere? I haven't really seen his name being brought up in conversation thus far. Is he taking time off? I haven't heard.
I don't know. I think
He
maybe
would have
not
been a
this
better.
year.
He would have been a better hire than Mike McCarthy, bro. Come on,
Yeah.
get the fuck out of here. Like,
I don't think this year maybe he'll get another opportunity, but
Yeah.
I also think that
I hope I eat my words. I hope McCarthy's great. I really do. I just have zero faith. I was saying to Bruce and Hannah on the phone before we got on here, I'm like, no coach has won a Super Bowl with two teams. You think Mike McCarthy is the guy to break that record, that curse? I'm not so sure. Like, I'm so blown, man. I really do hope that he can resurrect the program a little bit. There's been some truthers in there trying to plead his case. I just don't see it, man. I just don't see it. We need a Cowboys fan or somebody or a Packers fan to talk about it. Because I just think he had exceptional talent around him, which created his winning seasons. I mean, he had Rodgers and MVP years. Like, that's why he was so successful. I mean, even the offense he ran in Dallas, like, their offense was so good on paper.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like their offensive line was very talented. They had a good running back for most of that tenure, and then their receivers were nasty. Like obviously, you're going to have a good offensive season when your team is fucking good, you know. So I don't know. We just don't have that talent on that side of the ball. We've always been a defensively loaded roster, and we'll see what changes are made. I don't know, man. I'm just
Well, it'll be interesting
upset.
to see what Rodgers does if he retires, if he
Yeah.
comes back.
got to complete the trilogy. Got to go to Minnesota. The Brett Favre.
Yeah. I also feel like there's a little bit of feeling with the Bills where, like, for some reason, people just in general like Josh Allen and like their fan base, and they haven't won a Super Bowl. Where I almost feel like they almost feel entitled that they should have a shot at winning and that they should be at the Super Bowl. So I feel like when they lose, it almost like feels worse because like everybody feels bad for them and almost like wants them to win, but they haven't even proved that they can get there yet. So I think like in their minds, they should be Super Bowl champions, but they haven't even proved they could get to a Super Bowl. And like you're saying, I think that's more the GM needing to like look inward and being, we don't have the roster for this, and then they're blaming the coach, and the first thing they do is throw their first draft pick underneath the table. I think that kind of shows maybe why things are failing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what was it? Was it the '90s where they went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls? Like,
Yeah.
trust me, I feel for
Yeah.
Bills fans, but I agree with you. I mean, their team has just not been better than other teams, and they've lost because
Right.
of that.
Or like Lamar gets ripped when the Ravens do it, and they're like
Mhm.
equally as talented, and it's all his fault, and he's terrible, and he doesn't have it. And then the Bills, it's like everyone feels bad for them. I think even like Chase Daniel tweeted something like, "Turnovers aside, I feel so bad for Josh Allen," and he had 4 turnovers, and then like I know Jalen Hurts is not as good as Josh Allen, but he'll do something, and then they're saying, oh, offensive coordinators are avoiding Philadelphia because of Jalen Hurts. But you just made an excuse for this guy who had 4 turnovers and lost on the road to a worse quarterback. Like, he's just held to a different standard, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like people are avoiding the Philly coaching job because of the stress involved, not necessarily Jalen Hurts. I think he's fine. I mean, he's shown that he can run a productive offense and
Yeah.
not turn the ball over, but the pressure mounting in that job is probably huge, dude. I mean, it's held together by threads right now.
Yeah.
I mean, don't step on the thin ice because it's going to crack.
Yeah.
And
Jalen
what's
fine. That's like the best way to describe him, I feel like.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just find it crazy that like I mean the Panthers went we can transition over a little bit, but the Panthers went 8-9 this year, right? It was a great year.
Yeah.
Bryce Young improved, offense improved,
You made the
defense
playoffs.
has a little bit of work to do, made the playoffs this year. We're competitive in a game against the Rams. All things are looking up.
Could have won.
The Eagles
Could have won
won the
that football
Super
game.
Bowl last year, and then this year they make the playoffs, win the NFC East. Obviously, it's a disappointing year, but it just feels like everything has fallen apart for them,
Mhm.
even though they had a better year than the Panthers. It's just funny because I think Eagles fans their expectation now is Super Bowl or bust every year, and in the NFL that's just not realistic.
Yeah.
Like
Well, it's
not
all
everyone is the Chiefs. That's
Dude,
not going
but
to happen
yeah,
for
but dude,
a
with
while now.
The Eagles team on paper right now, theoretically, that should happen. I'm not, to be honest with you, I think
I
they are
don't
that good.
disagree with you, but I do
Yeah.
think that there
That's why
are
I
a
think
lot of factors that play into that. Like,
yeah.
yes, you might have the best roster in all of football, but injuries play a factor in that. Play calling, all of those things. And so, if your expectation is Super Bowl, you're going to be very nitpicky.
Yeah.
And I think the Eagles should do that. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying that, that's kind of the difference between the Eagles and what their expectations are because they have a generational offense, a generational team in terms of how many, star players that they have. But
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't overly disappointed with losing in the playoffs because we won the Super Bowl last year. I'm not like trying to get greedy. We were also, like you said, the first repeat winner in the NFC East in like 20 years. So I don't know how you can't call that a successful season to an extent. But I think my view is, like I said in the beginning, I think the league is wide open. We clearly have the best roster. And basically, our offense just decided to not play football the entire season. Like, my view is this year, maybe next year, was just like sitting there for an Eagles dynasty to go back to back, win 2 Super Bowls. Even this year, we were awful on offense. Like, we were in every single football game. Like, people thought the Niners were great. Like, our offense could not do anything. We ran a high school offense and you lose by 4. Like, we were right there with all these best teams in the NFL, and we didn't even have one side of the football being played. So I just viewed it as a dynasty waiting to happen. We had the best roster. We should have rolled through everybody. Like, even if we had a mediocre offense, we probably would win the Super Bowl. But we were like bottom 5 offense. Like, even if they were 15th in the league, we probably are playing in the NFC Championship game this weekend.
Yeah. I have an interesting take, and I kind of want to hear y'all's thoughts on this too. I think the Eagles would be better, like as a team, have more success if they traded AJ Brown. I just think he's becoming too much of a distraction on an already distracting team in one of the biggest markets where the fans are always, critical of the team. And I just think that Devontae Smith has shown when he's healthy, when he's available, he is a wide receiver 1. And I don't think you necessarily need AJ Brown, and you can open up that cap space and fill it with other guys that'll help kind of complete the roster.
Mm-hmm.
I think, it's always nice to have like a top go-to big receiver, but if you're not going to utilize him in the way that he's needed, and this offense is kind of built more around the run game than the pass game, so you don't necessarily need that guy, I think you can trade him, get some pieces for him, and save some cap space to kind of build the rest of the team. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think some of the media stuff with him is overblown. I just think it's like an easy target. I also think the media likes to portray Philly negatively because that just gets more people to interact with them.
It sells.
Including the Philadelphia fans themselves. At the beginning of the year, I agreed with him. He basically just said the offense isn't good enough, and everyone had a problem with it, and it wasn't good enough. That playoff game, he really pissed me off, though. I think he should have caught all 3 of those passes. I think his effort was terrible. The whole thing with Sirianni was stupid. He then runs away after the game and doesn't talk to the media. Probably that playoff game was the first time I'd be like, I'm okay trading him. He's an absolute monster still. So it's hard to lose him. We might lose Goddard too, so then you got to replace a tight end and your wide receiver 1. But I also think the offensive scheme was really bad and did not utilize his talents. He ran like 3 routes all year. I think he also lost a step a little bit, though. I don't know if he was hurt, but he definitely looked a little slower this year. Wasn't getting as much separation. I think coming off a Super Bowl, that can be a factor, too. I think like our O-line was beat up all year. Obviously, I need to look at like the dead cap implications of the trade and all that kind of stuff because he's got a monster contract. But I wouldn't be surprised if they moved on from him. I do think it could help the team.
Yeah, Eagles are quick to do that, and I think they're one of the most effective teams in the market of the NFL at doing that. I mean, we've seen it over the past 5, 6, 7 years. Just the way they've been able to navigate that space has been incredible. I agree with Liam's first point, like a lot. The media portrayal of AJ Brown might make it worse than it is. We don't know what's happening in the locker room when he's around the team, one-on-one interactions with these guys. So I think it's kind of hard from that standpoint with this circumstantial evidence, so to speak, to make assumptions about maybe his character or how unhappy he is with the team. Because obviously, I mean, a reporter's job is to get you worked up and get quotes out of you. You know,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like, we can't take that at face value. But I agree. I mean, he's worth a lot, you know, depending on his dead cap implications, like Liam had said. Would it be worth moving on from him? There's a lot of good wide receivers coming out in the draft over probably the next two seasons or so.
And
So
there's a lot of teams that need a wide receiver one.
yes,
I think, to me, I think the perfect trade fit would be AJ Brown goes to Buffalo and Philadelphia gets maybe a pick or two and somebody else. You know, maybe it's Shakir, um, somebody like that.
Yeah.
I think the fit for AJ Brown, if he were to leave Philly, if he were to get traded, I think it would be Buffalo. If I'm the Bills, I'm shopping for AJ Brown.
Yeah, I could see Howie not wanting him in the NFC too and shipping him
Yeah.
off to a different division. I also think we have some young talent that we have to pay too. So at what point? You know,
Yeah.
your losses.
yeah, especially in that defensive backfield, man. Those guys are going to want
Yeah.
money.
Mhm.
Well, was it Quavion Mitchell?
Yeah,
Quinyon
Quinn,
Mitchell.
that's my dog, dude. He's
Yeah.
so
He's
I
so
mean,
good.
he's gonna get paid pretty soon.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to pay
DeJean.
DeJean soon. Um, and then has Smitty gotten paid yet?
He has. Smitty has. They paid all the big guys, honestly. That's the other thing Howie does super well is if you like start playing well, he'll just pay you. They're gonna have to pay Jordan Davis. He was a monster this year. Reed Blankenship's a free agent.
Right. Forgot
Interesting
about him.
him. But Quinyon is so good. Even in that Niners, it was like the worst drive he's ever had to start. He gave up 3 passes, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen him give up 3 catches on one drive in my life. And he's like a second-year cornerback. It was like I was shell-shocked when it happened. But then he just responded with 2 interceptions. No big deal.
Dude, you never hear his name in football games. Obviously, Grace is a huge fan, so we watch all of the Eagles games. I barely heard his name this year, and that is a fantastic thing to have.
Wait, I wanna ask Lee, do you think that was on purpose? Because if I'm like a corner and it's like, okay, nobody's throwing to me, well, maybe I'll bait him into throwing my way. I'll give the quarterback a couple of passes and then
Yeah.
bait him into throwing to me and then pick one of them off.
Yeah, I could see that a little bit. It's interesting too because he doesn't have a regular season interception, but he has like 4 playoff interceptions. So that's like something he could save for the playoffs. I mean, even the first catch he gave up ended up being like a 70-yard gain, and like a safety missed the tackle at the 50. So even that, it just would have been like a big catch and not a huge play. I also think just McCaffrey, and they're just getting caught looking in the backfield because of the play
Yeah.
act, McCaffrey being involved. But I could see him, playoffs bait them, especially because it was like their third string wide receiver was their wide receiver won that game too, and kind of underestimating them a little bit.
Yeah. Could be.
Man, he's so good though. So we'll stay tuned. The next sports room will probably have more information. We'll be gearing up for the draft in Pittsburgh this year. What a time to make such a head coaching change when you're hosting the NFL draft. Fans are going to be out in droves, all pissed off. It's going to be a whack draft this year, so getting excited for that. So yeah, we'll chat more about the NFL next time. Looking forward to some great games today. I think Graham suggested earlier whoever wins the NFC will most likely win the Super Bowl. I do agree with that sentiment. But any final takes about the rest of the NFL season before we move on to the national championship that just occurred? We touched on that a little bit, but
Man, you gotta feel for Bo Nix.
yeah,
That when I saw the news, I was like, man, that sucks. That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make it your second year, NFC Championship game
with a chance to win too.
with
I
a
mean, the team is
chance.
that good.
Yeah, when you've got a defense that's that good, and he certainly played well enough to get them there.
Yeah.
And you feel for them. But
Yeah, and the Pats were bad long enough to be going back to another Super Bowl after Brady won them a bunch. So I'm like, of course, starting gets hurt. But I'll shout out Nick Foles to end football. I don't know if you saw his tweet, but he like tweeted at the Patriots after, or he tweeted at the Broncos after Bo Nix got hurt, and it was like, "Oh, that sucks. I feel bad for him, all that kind of stuff." And then he ended it with like, "But don't worry, Broncos fans. Patriots seem to have trouble in big games against backup quarterbacks or something like that." Yeah.
Love it.
That's good.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that's a good note to end the NFL on. And speaking of NFL draft, #1 overall pick, Mendoza, probably going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Incredible college football championship game. Showed out with some grit at the end with that touchdown run on 4th and 5, I think it was. Well called game by Signetti. Wow, what a turnaround by a football program. I mean, that's generational. We might not see that happen again in our lifetime, honestly. Like a team turning it around that fast in the current college landscape with the transfer portal, with NIL, with all of these things we've got going on, dude. What a season. Man.
What a season. And I think this is so good for college football, and every college football fan loves this because if you were to tell me 10 years ago, 2016, when Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State were dominating college football, Indiana was going to be a national champion in 10 years. Like, that's absurd
in your
to think.
face.
It's laughable.
In your face. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like you mean the team that has the most losses in college football history? Like that team that's been historically bad for such a long time.
Or like what, they get even or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the coach comes in. Not only does he come in from James Madison, where he had shown he could win before, but he comes in the first press conference and is like, "I win. Google me." And people were clowning him for that. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, try winning at Indiana.
Yeah.
And first year, makes it to the playoff. Second year, wins the national championship. And everybody's like going back to that original quote. And it's like, you're right. He wins.
And beating Ohio State in the championship game. I thought that was just as impressive too. Because I feel like that's like sometimes that's the hump they can't get over.
Oh,
like,
yeah. Well, they had the toughest run
game. Like
they had a very tough run. Like in terms of national championships won, this was probably the toughest slate of games that you would have to have. Like you play Ohio State, and then you have to. Their next game was against Alabama. They absolutely obliterated Alabama.
Wiped the floor with Alabama. That was
then
awesome.
They play Oregon, who they had already beat earlier in the year. They beat them again pretty convincingly. And then you beat Miami in the closest game, but you still take care of business. Those 4 games are just as impressive of a slate of any games that any team has had, like to run the table, and they didn't lose a game all year. It's incredible.
It's a story. It's a fairy tale ending, bro, to a fantastic season.
Played Miami at Miami. Mendoza is from Miami. I think I saw the kid who had the game-winning interception also
from Miami.
Crazy. I think it was also they showed after the game first new national champion, I believe. I think it was since Florida in like whenever they were 94 or 96. So we haven't had a new natty in a while. That 4th down run was unbelievable. Like if that happened, if the Heisman vote happened after the season, that would have been like played everywhere as this Heisman moment.
I mean that play is going to be in football lore for a long time. It's kind of reminiscent of the Vince Young run into the end zone to win the Rose Bowl against USC. Like it's that type of iconic level play that's just going to be played over and over and over again. I mean, it was very impressive. Hold on one second.
What a football game, though. What a football game. I mean, you know, we talked a little bit about the refereeing earlier in the pod, you know, in the discussion, and how that impacted some of the game flow, I think, in the national championship. But it really was a fairy tale ending. I mean, it was a fantastic football game, back and forth the entire time, big plays being made. I mean, I thought Indiana was going to run away with it until Fletcher had that, what was it, the 80-yard rush or whatever for a touchdown. That ignited a spark, and
I like Fletcher a lot. He's gonna be playing in the NFL pretty soon on many people's fantasy teams. So look forward to that. Him and Tony.
He's sick.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think? You think Tony will go for one more year, 2 more years, and then go to the NFL? I mean, the
he's a
NFL
freshman, so he's
caliber.
gotta
I
stay
know.
around for at least. I think you got to play 3
By the
years.
time he's a senior, those NIL contracts are going to be like $20 million a pop, so maybe he'll be hanging out. Yeah. And then the fall start too at the end, they give Miami a chance to come back and win. Like it was just set up. But that third, I feel like the third, fourth, beginning of the end of the middle third to the beginning of the fourth, it was just like back and forth, big play after big play.
Yeah,
which is all you can really ask for as a neutral.
Yep.
Also, I think the way Indiana won this year, I think it's a blueprint for every team in college football, you know, that's not one of the big dogs, as to how you can win a national championship. You know, you just got to like fill the team with experience. Um, it's not really about star power, although Fernando Mendoza certainly turned into a star. But it's really just about getting guys that have played college football on the big stage for at least, you know, a year or two, bringing them in, continuing to develop them over the stretch of the season, over the course of the season, and just really like kind of not making mistakes, like just keeping the game in front of you and managing the game. One thing I saw, and I think it's really interesting, is that Indiana plays like a pro style team, and I think we're going to see more and more of that as time goes on in college football, where this kind of spread offense, you know, just have the quarterback run around and chuck it downfield and somebody's wide open by 20 yards. That stuff's not going to happen anymore. You know, guys are more experienced. They've been playing for, you know, multiple years, starters. It's not like a junior that's sat for 2 years behind somebody else that's coming in to fill in the role. You know, now the team can go out and get a junior that has 2 years of experience, that played maybe on a little bit lower level, but they come in, step in, and are able to make an impact right away, versus somebody that hasn't had that playing experience. And so I think, you know, that's really the standard now is, you know, you don't go to Ohio State, Alabama and sit for 2 years behind somebody else and come in and play. No, you go somewhere where you can get playing time immediately, play there for 2 years, and then you may have the potential to work your way up to a school like Alabama, who's then going to, you know, give you some good money to come in and play and fill that role. So it's completely changed the landscape of college football, where now these big schools, they can't stock 4 and 5 star guys on the bench anymore. That's not happening. You know, which I think is really good for the sport, because it allows those 4 or 5 star guys to go to other places and have opportunities, and it gives those schools a chance to have greater success.
Yep. No, I agree. I kind of like that, how NIL and the transfer portal is changing in that way. Obviously, a lot of framework and regulatory nonsense to do moving forward. Obviously, we're not where we need to be yet. What was that stat? I mean, I saw, was it like 10,000 players entered the transfer portal and there's only like 7,000 active roster spots or something like that in the FBS. I could be
Yeah.
messing up the numbers a little bit, but that's crazy to think
No, you
about.
get the gist. Like, there's going to be thousands of players that don't wind up with a team.
Mhm.
That's just kind of that's something that has to be accepted because that's the nature of what we live in now. But um, you know, as you mentioned, Tyler, there's a lot of good positives that come with the transfer portal, but there's a lot of negatives that come
Mhm.
with it as well that kind of need to be fixed
Yeah.
and looked at.
I think the schedule problem with it too, and the timing of everything.
Yes.
I
I
even
would say that's the biggest thing.
by the time the Natty rolls around, I barely even care. I'm like, oh wait, there's still college football on. Like, I feel like the season now with the playoff is just so long, and there's so many breaks, and it kind of you lose your touch with it a little bit. And then you got coaches leaving. Like the Lane Kiffin thing is crazy, but like it's obviously his fault because he's making the decisions, but he's forced into a decision by this timeline and the transfer portal and all of these things, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think Lane took it a little overboard. You
Yeah,
didn't like you didn't need to do all that, but
I wanted Ole Miss to win just because he left, but
Me too.
yeah.
I think everybody was cheering for that. But yeah, we'll see. Very fluid, ever-changing landscape of the NCAA, Division One FBS college football. Way to cap it off with an impressive championship ending. We've got a few things to get into here before Graham logs off around noonish. I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about the English Premier League since that's wrapping up a little bit. And then before you go, Graham, got to give me your factoid of the week so we can kind of talk about that. And then Liam and I can follow up with ours and chat about that a little bit maybe after you go. But
I
yeah,
do
what's
have
the table look like? Oh, wait, one more thing, college football.
yeah, I got one more thing college
All right,
football.
and
So
then roll into the table and what that
yeah,
looks like.
yeah, I'll do that. So last point on that is I agree with Liam. I think the schedule needs to be changed. My thoughts would be I think you have the transfer portal open. You open it on, January 1st. So guys that are still in the playoff, they don't have to come in, but you have until the end of the month. So you have a month where the transfer portal is open for guys to enter the portal. And then the portal closes for opening at least. Like you can't enter the portal anymore after January 31st. Then the month of February is when you have signing and players can come in and you have national signing during that period as well. Now, I understand like the timing is kind of tight because then you have spring football starting right away, but you don't really have much room to do it before or after that point. So I think having it January where you can enter the portal and then February where you can choose where you're going to be. That way it's not colliding in the middle of the season where you have all of these problems that kind of surfaced from that, where you have coaches leaving during the playoff because they need to go to the school so they can get started on recruiting, so because the transfer portal is about to open because recruiting is during this period of time. And then you end up with all these problems with tampering, where schools can go to players that aren't in the portal and start, throwing money at them even though they're not even in the portal to begin with. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Um, but yeah, and then switch over to the Premier League.
Yeah, we need a whole episode to break down the college football schedule. I know we've talked about like the relegation aspects of it, but the
Yeah,
scheduling could be an interesting like long segment. I think that needs broken down a little more. But I agree with everything you said. Need to kind of set a time frame because right now, like I don't know,
just
guys
open
can do
season.
whatever. whenever they want. So
Yeah.
structure. But yeah, Premier League, hit us with it.
Yeah, so right now Arsenal is top of the table. I don't know how many points they're winning.
They're pretty handily up there last time I looked, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean,
they should win it.
Man City's kind of fallen off. So Arsenal's 4 points up with a game in hand. So I think they play, or they're playing right now against Manchester United. So that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, Liverpool's kind of fallen off this year a little bit. They're starting to pick it up now, but right now they're 14 points off top of the table, so it doesn't look like realistically they can catch up. The only two teams that really are potentially able to catch up with Arsenal are Aston Villa and Man City. I think Man City probably agree with me, Liam, but Man City's definitely the more likely of the two to catch up. Tottenham, falling off a little bit this year. I thought with Thomas Frank things were going to turn around a little bit better for you guys, but right now sitting at 14th at the table with 28 points. Brighton, my team, sitting at 12th right now with 30 points. Again, not really where we'd like to be. Too many just late goals that Brighton seems to give up at the end of games that really just kill us. So yeah, and I would say this year has kind of opened up for Arsenal to really have the opportunity to take a hold of it. I don't think they've been as dominant as teams of the past have been when they've kind of ran away with it. And that's where I kind of worry with Arsenal because it just seems like whenever they're in this position, they just kind of slip. And they don't have, they've got a lot of options up front. Doesn't seem like they've got that killer touch that we've seen from like Manchester City teams in the past where they're just obliterating teams 5-0.
Yeah.
It's more of Arsenal just maintaining clean sheets and then hoping that they get a corner kick and Gabriel can get a header and win the game 1-0 or 2-1 in kind of more of a slugfest type game.
Set piece merchants.
Yeah. They're definitely a set piece merchant team for sure.
They're very good. Like they're doing very well in the Champions League too, so I think it shows that their success isn't like fake or one-sided or anything like that. I can't remember last year, but also like the last couple seasons they finished, second 3 seasons in a row, and at one point in all the seasons had a lead in the Premier League. But I wouldn't say any of those seasons they were like the favorite in my opinion. Like I feel like those years City came back and won the title. City was probably better. Some of those Liverpool teams were really good. I think recently the last couple of seasons, like the middle Premier League has gotten way better. I don't know if you're familiar, Tyler, but there's like a big 6 clubs, which is Man U, Man City, Tottenham, Chelsea, Arsenal, all the bigger teams. And they traditionally would finish like higher up in the table. And I feel like the past couple of years, there's been at least a little more parity. Even like Newcastle's gotten better. They have more history. They had some troubles, but like Newcastle is back to being good. Like Brentford's good. Brighton's good. Fulham has a really good team. Like Crystal Palace is better than they used to be. So I feel like all these teams are better. Like even looking at the table, Tottenham's in 4th place, but if they go win 3 in a row, they're going to be right there for a Europe spot. So I think like the Premier League is going to be Arsenal's to win. I think it's going to be more interesting who wins the Europe spots in the Prem. Just because the points in the middle of the table are so close. I also thought Tottenham was going to get better with Thomas Frank, but it's feeling a little bit like karma for sacking your manager who's won your first trophy in 17 years.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what it is with Tottenham because they have quality players. It's not like they don't have guys. Now, I think up front, that's really where they're lacking. They rely so much on their midfield and defense for goals. And I really think the only guy that's, shown he's capable of being like a top forward for Tottenham is Kudus.
Mhm.
And Simmons
He's fine.
he's had his moments. He's okay, but it just seems like that's where the team is really lacking.
Mhm.
Like the defense, I think the defense can be shored up. They just need to, because it's not like they have chumps on defense. Like
Yeah, you doggy.
I think their defensive line, like if you're reading off the names, you're like, okay, that's a pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
But then it just seems like they're prone to a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Missing Madison and Kulusevski, that definitely really hurts in attack. I like Matthias Tell a lot. I think he has shown some potential. But I just feel like Thomas Frank just isn't it for whatever reason. Of course, like I understand football tactics when I'm watching the game and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be able to sit here and spew all the tactics he's doing. But when you just watch the football, it's terrible. It's just like not good football.
well, he's trying to play like he did at Brentford,
Yeah,
and that's just not
that.
like
He's even like sitting back at home, inviting pressure against like lesser teams. You're a big club. You should be on the forefront attacking. That's what the fans want. Like the fans, like it's like a mock chant to chant like getting sacked in the morning to the other team's manager if he's going through a bad run of games, and Tottenham's fans are the ones that are chanting that at him, and they like actively want him fired. And after the game, all the players will be doing their clapping, and all the fans are clapping, and then like Thomas Frank will walk to the front of the line and do his clapping, and everyone boos, and then he like don't know how. I don't know how you keep a guy when the fans are actively cheering for him to be. Like people are mad that Romero tied it up last night because it was a draw instead of them losing because they want him to get fired. Like,
yeah. Also, I feel bad for Postecoglou.
me too.
Like he got let go at Tottenham after he won them a trophy, and then goes to Nottingham Forest and doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, like 7.
Like he got what, like 8 games, maybe even less than that. Like, so Nottingham Forest they're one of the teams down towards the bottom in a relegation battle.
They're very good.
They're a good team. They finished at the top end of the table last year. Had some struggles at the beginning of the year. Their coach at the beginning of the year was a guy named Nuno Espirito Santo, who's now the head coach, now the manager at West Ham. So Nottingham Forest is 17th in the table. So they're one spot away from being relegated. They have 25 points. West Ham has 18 or is 18th and they have 20 points. So Nuno Espirito Santo, who started the year as Nottingham Forest manager, who's now the manager at West Ham, is trying to get West Ham out of relegation so that the team he was coaching for, Nottingham Forest, will be the team relegated. Isn't that kind of nuts?
Mm-hmm. And they screwed him too. Like he got fired for no reason too. He just had an amazing year, and then
yeah,
their owner's crazy, but
and he never really got a chance at Tottenham either.
Yeah. No, they gave him like 10.
He was there for a millisecond and was gone.
Yeah,
That's crazy. That's wild. That's even quicker than the turnaround in the U.S. sports. I mean, I think it's gotten way quicker. As time goes on. I mean, even like 10 years ago, you were tenuring coaches for 5 seasons before you even thought about giving them the boot. Now it's like 2 seasons. If you don't have success in 2 seasons, I mean, even Pete Carroll, another example, made out of him. I mean, 1 season he's gone, but
the life cycle in soccer coaching is crazy. Even Xavi Alonso has this like amazing seasons with Bayern Leverkusen, next big manager, played for Real Madrid. He just got fired. He didn't even last a full season at Real Madrid. It's just crazy.
wow. All right.
Real quick to just tie in Premier League and college football, I saw a suggestion that instead of the transfer portal, it should be just a transfer portal. So if you like, if I don't know, you want Dante Moore or whatever, you want Dylan Raiola, you got to pay Nebraska, $50 million for him.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would like that too.
You have to buy them because it's a contract buyout is
Right.
what it is.
Right.
Like in soccer, when you're paying a transfer fee, you're essentially buying the player out of the contract. So it's different if like a player signs for 2 years and then it's like, okay, I'm done with my 2-year contract. Let me go to the portal and see
Right.
what's available. But if you sign a 2-year contract after year one, if you want to go anywhere else, that team has to buy you out of the contract.
Right.
I think that should be standard across the board.
I agree.
So
It would increase the parity even more, because then these smaller teams that may be developing players now get this cash flow and are like, now we can pay some better guys and beef up the coaching team or the star players, whatever.
and I think they should strictly make this, because this is becoming a problem now with college basketball. Multiple players have done this. Once you elect to go to the draft, once you put your name in, once you're professional, you can now no longer go back to college.
Yeah.
That's not an option anymore. You made your bed, you have to lie in it. That's the decision.
Yep.
DJ Moore or Dante Moore, he declares for the draft. Okay, you can't come back to college. You declared for the draft. It doesn't matter what team you get drafted by. You made that decision to go there.
Yeah.
And Oregon had to make a decision to bring in another quarterback. That quarterback saw that there was an opening, and now this contract that he signed, he's no longer, because he was probably promised, okay, you're going to be the starting quarterback. You're going to get these deals because you are the starting quarterback. And now Dante Moore's like, oh, I want to come back.
Right.
Oregon's not going to turn him down because it's like, okay, well, we rate Dante Moore a little bit better than we rate Dylan Raiola, so we don't want to do that.
Right.
But then it screws over Dylan Raiola because it's like, well, I signed this contract and now I'm stuck in this, and there's really no way out. So I understand it from like a team's point of view, but I also understand it from like a player's point of view. Like, wait, I thought I was the guy.
Right.
That's what you promised me. That's what you put in the contract.
Yeah.
So
I know you got to go soon, but I also think like the landscape changes. Because originally, I think that was designed for players to go, okay, I'm declaring for the draft, but I'm not signing an agent. So that way you can go get evaluated and say, okay, I'm not good enough. I'm going to go back to college and get.
But now all of them already have agents.
Also, maybe protect people from like agents trying to take advantage of players and saying, oh no, you should sign with me. You're a great talent. You're going to be a first round pick. And then he goes, doesn't get drafted. Now he's playing in Europe or something like that. So I feel like that's the general spirit of that. But now, like you're saying, it's the exact opposite, where now the players are using it as leverage as opposed to like the agencies using it as leverage, or the school being like, oh no, you won't get drafted. There's no reason for you to declare. But now the player had the option to say, no, I can declare without an agent so I can come back to school. So it kind of helped the player. But now it's just open game for Dante Moore to say, I'm going to go get this much money in the NFL. And Oregon's like, actually, here's $6 million instead of $4 million. And he's like, all right, why not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Landscape is crazy, ever changing. College football is an all-time media masterpiece. So much to talk about. We could spend hours. I mean, we have spent hours, honestly, talking about the transfer portal, NIL, contract obligations. I mean, it's an ever-changing landscape, and what a wild time. Like we said, this past entire college football season, the coaching dramas, the incredible run by Indiana, the Fernando Mendozas of the world being drafted by the Vegas Raiders. We'll see how that happens. But before we go, the new segment we started last time, some crazy sports facts that you may not may or may not have known before. This week, mine's going to be MLB focused. I don't know what you guys brought to the table, but we'll talk about this and then we'll wrap it up and get out of here.
Mine's gonna be Pittsburgh, Philadelphia related. So
Nice.
just a little fun fact I found. So during World War II, the Steelers and Eagles, they lost so many players to military service that they actually combined for the 1943 season to become the Steagles.
Steagles.
So they played together as the Steagles for 1 year during World War II.
Do you know what their stats were for that season? Were we
I
9-8?
do not know.
No, there are less games played back then, but probably. I mean, shit. What an interesting one. Is that the only time? I wonder if that's the only time that teams combine like that. I mean, I wouldn't think of another circumstance. Obviously, they've had replacement players in leagues.
Yeah, I think that's the only time in football, at least.
Yeah, I believe it. Liam, you want to go next?
All right, sure. I didn't bring one, so I just found one. I can't believe we didn't even think about to bring this up and talk about it, but I went and looked for who has the most gold medals in Winter Olympic history.
Is it
Because
Chloe Kim?
Winter Olympics are starting in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that is a good one.
U.S. second with 114 gold medals of all time. Who would you think is first?
Switzerland?
It's got to be. So my guesses would be Russia. I don't think it's China, but Russia, maybe Norway.
Norway is one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Good guess, Graham.
148 gold.
Wow.
it's because
Russia's
they win all like the cross country skiing and like the shooting and all that stuff.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, since 1924, like even just looking at this chart, they've led like most. Them or Soviet Union seems mostly, but my guess is Russia's probably dropped a little bit since their Soviet Union days.
That was back when they were doping and cheating. Now do they still have to compete under the like national group or whatever? It's like an unnamed country or whatever.
I believe they do, yeah. Independent or whatever.
Yeah. Wow.
they're doping
Wow.
too much.
Yep. Icarus is an interesting movie to watch if you want to learn more about that. Fantastic movie.
Go for Norway. I'm happy for them. That's
Yeah, that is good for Norway.
Yeah,
That's why I was like, I was almost hesitant to guess Norway because I was like, it seems like they might be too small.
Right.
Like, I don't think
They probably flex that on the Swedes and the Finns all the time.
Oh yeah.
All right. I'll wrap it up with the MLB stat. I've actually got two here, so we'll go with the first one. The longest MLB at bat since 1988 is 21 pitches. It was in 2018 and it ended in a fly ball out. And then the other one is Barry Bonds received 1,870 unintentional walks and 688 intentional walks in his career. The total distance he walked equals 43.6 miles as a major league player.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Isn't that wild? Barry Bonds, man, what an all-time slugger. Bro, he
get walked with the bases loaded intentionally.
Oh yeah. I mean, he had a hell of an eye too. I mean, 1,800, like drawing 1,800 walks as a slugger. I mean, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Did you have who the hitter and pitcher were in that at bat?
Yes, it was Brandon Belt was the batter. Jamie Barria was the pitcher. Or maybe that's the other way around. San Francisco Giants against the Los Angeles Angels.
That's Belton's first baseman.
Yeah. So yeah, fellas, another successful Sports Room podcast. Any end notes before we get out of here? A lot to look forward to. Obviously, the games today, the Winter Olympics, as Liam suggested, golf season is starting. Premier League is ending. Very interesting time in all of sports. Obviously, we talked about like signing periods for college, and then NFL is interesting right now. We're gearing up for the draft. A lot of coaching changes happening. Obviously, before the Super Bowl
Give me
as
your,
well.
your Super Bowl prediction. Who's winning
Super Bowl.
it
Super
all?
Bowl prediction. I'd
Yeah.
probably go Seahawks over the. I don't want to say the Pats. I think the Broncos do have a chance to win the football game, but I'd say Seahawks over Pats, like 31-21, 31-24, maybe.
I think yeah, I think it's gonna be Seahawks, Patriots probably. I don't know. I'm not gonna like take the Broncos lightly though.
Mhm.
Patriots better come ready to play because I mean Stidham's a backup, but I think he'll do fine. I don't think if the Broncos lose, I don't think he'll be the reason why they lose. If they do, so
I think New England's gonna win. I'm gonna take the Rams. I think the Rams are gonna win it all.
Yeah, I really see whoever wins the NFC Championship today
yeah,
winning the whole damn thing.
yeah. I'll go Seahawks over Patriots. I'll do 34 to 21.
34-21. So big spread for Graham.
Yeah. I think it'll be like 24-17 Rams, Pats.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little lower.
Yeah, I think they should at least be somewhat of a good matchup. I do think the NFC team is more likely to win. I think, well, Denver's got the best defense left, if not for Seattle, obviously. They're the best one. I mean, Pats Rams would be interesting. Maybe they score a little more. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Both equally crazy matchups. We're kind of counting Denver out, unfortunately. QB1 goes down and AFC divisional game, you get the W. But at least Stidham's had time to practice. It's not like it happened during like a walkthrough or something like that,
Yeah.
where you only have a week to get set up. At least he had a full week repping with the first team. So let's go Broncos. I just am not ready to see the Patriots back in the driver's seat so soon. So
I can't see that stay in that city having any sports success.
Yeah.
Ah, man, great note to end it on. All right, fellas, any last words before we get out of here?
Nah.
Nope. All right, well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday afternoons. Get to watch some football. Big snowstorm
Enjoy the
happening on the
snow.
East Coast right now, so hopefully nobody loses power and all of our infrastructure around us is doing well today. But yeah. All right, fellas. Well, for everybody out there that's made it this long, slantedaddict.com will hopefully be up by the time this episode gets aired. So find all your content there. We're available at Slanted Attic on all your social media platforms, the Slanted Attic Experience on podcast platforms. Thanks for listening with us. This is Sports Room '07. Many more to come. So we'll see you guys in probably a month or two. Reconvene, talk about what's going on. But thanks for spending your Sunday morning with us. And yeah, see you guys soon.